Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by. I hope you're well and hope you're having a super day. Today we're going to do something called braised cowboy steaks. This was something my mother used to make quite often actually when we were 5 of us. We're starting off with 2 tablespoons of oil and heating that into kind of a chasseur or a deep saute pan because this needs to braise after. Now what I've got here is a beef blade steak with some short ribs. Back in the day when my mother made this, these things came together in one package. You used to get a blade steak with a bone in, and you used to get the short rib strip still attached to it. I guess they figured out they can make more money by separating these cuts. So today you don't find it like that anymore. So I've tried to recreate it the best I can to get that same taste and flavor that my mother used to get. I've thrown them in the pan and I'm going to add some salt and pepper. I'm going to let those saute until they turn brown, and then we're going to flip them over and do the other side. Oh my god, this looks so good already. Blade steak and short ribs are tougher cuts of meat, and they really do need to be braised for a while in order to get soft. This is not the kind of steak you throw on the grill and expect to eat, because it'll be tough as your bottom of your shoes. I've thrown in a cup of onion chopped, and eventually I want to get the onion on the bottom of the pan and lay the steaks on top. That way the onions get nice and brown and caramelized. Adding a squirt of Maggi, of course, because my mother made this, so it had to have Maggi, and a teaspoon of Browning. You can use any brand you like. This is a can of sliced mushrooms with their juice. We want to get all the flavor possible when this is braising. And then we're going to cover with beef broth, just enough to slightly cover the meat. We don't want it boiling. We just want it braising. So I can't really tell you how much to add because it really depends on the size of the pan you're cooking with and how deep it is. We're going to braise this in a 350 degree oven for 2 hours. And the bone should be already popping out of the short ribs. The steak should be nice and tender. Look at that. Doesn't it just look so good? You can thicken this sauce up if you like. My mother was of 2 minds. Sometimes we had gravy and sometimes we had sauce. So it's up to you, whatever you like to do. So there it is plated up. Why don't you come join me for some dinner? Some beautiful steak with mashed potatoes and sauce, green beans and mushrooms. And if you notice, I gave you the short rib portion, which we always fought about at our table. Our bonus recipe today is chunky vegetable pasta sauce. This is another one of those days where you clean out the fridge before you go shopping and use up everything that you need before it goes bad. So in a Dutch oven, I've added 2 tablespoons of oil and 2 tablespoons of chopped garlic. I'm going to give the garlic a saute to get it to release some of its great flavor and to start caramelizing and making all the good sauce for this veggie stew. I don't know if you just heard that outside, but I had a couple of guys just screaming outside my window. It sounded like they were dying. I hope they didn't, but anyways, entertainment here as always. I've added 1 red pepper that I've chopped, 1 onion chopped, and I've added 4 to 5 really ripe red tomatoes. These were from the local market. I mean, it's September in Toronto, so everything is ripe and ready to eat. We get tomatoes and cucumbers and carrots and celery. We get fresh apples and pears. It's unbelievably good. I did a dash of Maggi and some salt and pepper for seasoning. I'm also adding some roasted red pepper and garlic. This is really good in sauces like this. Anything where you need a little boost of red pepper or garlic. As you can see, I'm having some trouble with this grinder. Nothing's coming out. So I adjusted the grinder settings a couple of times, and eventually I got some of the red pepper and garlic to grind into the pot. There's my third try. We'll give that a stir because the tomatoes are going to start to release their juice and fall apart. To that mixture, I'm going to add a 3-ounce can of tomato paste. I prefer to use the plain one. You can use the ones that are flavored with garlic and herbs and all that kind of stuff. But I find that I would like to be in control as to how much garlic and how much herbs I will be adding to my sauce. So if it's in a can already mixed, you have no control. But you do what you like. Now, I do not add any sugar to my pasta sauce. These tomatoes are so ripe, they jumped in the pan all by themselves. You can't get any sweeter than that. If you need to add sugar, you're not using the right tomatoes. So to that mix, I'm adding 2 stalks of celery chopped, a carrot that's diced, and 2 to 3 cups of mushrooms. I've got a mixture here of cremini and white that I've just quartered. Some of the mushrooms are trying to escape. I have to throw them back in the pan, sorry. So give that a good stir, get everything mixed. And we want the harder vegetables to get kind of near the bottom so they cook better. The mushrooms don't really need a lot of cooking. They will eventually cook just by sitting on top with the steam. So to that, I'm adding some chicken broth, 2 or 3 cups. You can also use vegetable stock if you want to keep this totally vegetarian. I haven't used any meat, so the only meat flavoring is the stock. But like I said, you can swap that out for something else. You can use water too, for that matter. So we'll stir that up a bit just to get everything underneath the braising liquid. We're going to cover this and we're going to simmer it for 1 to 2 hours until the veggies get soft but not mushy. We still want the carrots and the celery to hold some shape. We don't want it all mush in the bottom of the pan. I've served it with some wide pasta. You can use tagliatelle, you can use pappardelle, anything that's a bit wider. I wouldn't necessarily serve this with spaghetti because the sauce will kind of drown out the pasta. But, I mean, you of course are free to do whatever pasta you like. I'm also adding some Parmesan cheese slivers. This sauce and pasta was so good when I had this that day. I hope you're going to join me for lunch and have some pasta with veggie sauce. Thanks for stopping by today for more food that warms your soul. We'll see you next time.